Hello, film fans. Welcome to All the Film Things. I'm your host, Elizabeth. Thank you for listening. If you're enjoying this podcast, leave a review or a rating. Also, check out the All the Film Things Instagram for updates and more film things. Today, I am talking with Vesta Millard. Vesta Millard, who has worn many hats over the years, is a former broadcaster, executive producer, writer, actress, and proud cat mom. She was a radio DJ for 30 years in a variety of markets such as New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. Vesta has ranked among the top 10% of voice actors worldwide and has lent her voice to a range of projects, including but not limited to documentaries, video games, and commercials, with some of her most prominent clients being Coca Cola, the A&E Network, and PBS. In addition to starring in stage productions, Vesta has been in front of the camera as both a news reporter and actress in commercials and short films such as Covington, Fruitcake, and most recently, Life is Torture. Off camera, she was influential in passing an anti-stalking law that has significantly helped many people and still stands today. In the past few years, Vesta has created a series of fantasy shorts revolving around her character, the heroine witch, Tara Ward. The fourth installment, Time Will Tell, follows Tara on her latest adventure, which will be coming soon to film festivals. Vesta, thank you so much for joining me today.
It's an absolute pleasure, Elizabeth. I love your podcast, and I'm thrilled to be a part of things today.
I'm so honored to have you on, and you're the first woman in film I'm interviewing.
Oh, that is an honor. Thank you so much.
I'm so thrilled, and congratulations. Life is Torture earned 6 awards at OIF last month, which included a Best Supporting Actress and Best Set Design wins for you, as well as the film overall winning Best Picture. That's fantastic. That must have been incredibly gratifying to earn that level of acclaim in such a competitive film festival.
Absolutely, and among your peers. That film was written and produced and just overall, what do I want to say? Tracy Jane is the woman who is behind that film, and she is a very talented director and screenplay writer. I had wanted to work with her for some time. Every time she makes a motion picture, it wins a whole slew of awards, and she is predominantly a writer. She's writing a book right now, but I had reached out to her and I said, I would love to collaborate with you. And so we did. I mean, I had an idea of filming at Otis Castle. And I said, write me a short film that has some interesting characters. And we're all going to be in a castle. And she was off and running. And it's a very interesting tale. The heroine is a similar character to Disney's Snow White. Oh. And in that movie, I portray the antagonist, I guess you could say. I'm the evil queen. So we actually got to do reality shoots in a school where we are the counterparts to our characters in the Middle Ages. So in the Middle Ages, I'm the evil queen, and in the more modern world, I'm the history professor.
Oh, that's so cool.
And it was a dual shoot, so we had to do both scenes in both eras, and that was fun. It was a lot of work, as all films are, but the payoff and the rewards are infinite.
Yeah, what an incredible role, and I can't wait to see the film.
And it's a 9 minutes short, because that's an OIF rule, that you all have to tell a story and kind of flush out characters all within 9 minutes. And it makes it harder in a way without all that expose, which you can have. I mean, it's a luxury to have in a 2.5 hour long feature. So 9 minutes to get all of that in. And it was a musical too.
Oh, it was musical.
No dialogue. It was all sung, like kind of an operetta.
Wow. Well, you're also a singer.
I am, yes. My mother was a singer on Broadway, so.
She worked with Gwen Verdon, right? She
did. She did 3 musicals with Gwen Verdon, and also was one of the first Chevrolet girls. She got to drive a vintage, 1950s Chevrolet and pose with it and everything. So I guess you could say acting runs in the family. I always say I got into acting in self-defense.
Really? Why do you say that?
Because I had no choice, with a mother on Broadway, and my father was also on Broadway. So, it was an unusual household. It wasn't like a normal childhood in all the best ways.
Well, I was going to ask, since they were in show business, if they were encouraging or if they wanted you to stay away from show business, but it sounds like...
Well, I mean, they were very allowing of my aspirations, but I mean, they knew the dark side of show business, which is like you're out of work. You can be out of work for months on end. And that can be very frightening when you have bills to pay. You know, it's just not a practical profession. But those of us in the arts love it and wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. Before we get into, because I have more questions about your parents, because from what I've read, fascinating. You have such an extensive career in the industry. I have so many questions. I'll try and get through as much as I can.
We could make this a two-parter if we needed to.
We could. One of my first questions I always love to ask the guest is, what film would you say has been the biggest milestone or the most impactful film in your life?
Oh, of anyone's movie?
Any film, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And we'd have to do genres, I guess, too, because,
Sure.
I mean, you can't compare horror with musical or comedy or, oh golly. Well, some of the movies that influenced what I'm doing now, a major one would have to be Practical Magic with Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman. It was one of the first films to show witches as regular people, regular women with lives and love interests and children and all of those things compiled with that magical background. So I do have a very big love for that movie. I mean, for large scale movies, I'd have to pick Titanic because of all that was accomplished was absolutely incredible. And I still see outtakes of that movie with Kate Winslet wading through ice cold water. Mm-hmm. And you talk about having to be an actress and going beyond what is normally needed for a scene. James Cameron just really put his actors through the mill to do that movie, to really experience what it was like to be in a shipwreck and the ship sinking. And you know, he flooded the hallways and the water was not warm. It was ice cold. So I can't imagine, you know, you have to know your lines, you've got to hit your marks, and yet you're worried about yourself as a person intrinsically. I mean, we all have that inner monologue where you're you, but then you're acting. So, you know, you're in this ice cold water up to your waist and you're freezing, but you have to go on. And that's one of the things I learned from my parents. The show must go on. So if you're really committed, you're going to do things that you never thought you would do.
Mm-hmm. I'm so happy you made that point about James Cameron with, you will always get whatever necessary for a scene done. You will always go that extra mile, because I think that is so indicative of Kate as an actress. Mm-hmm. She will always go the extra mile for her films. She always pushes boundaries, and I'm just so thrilled that you mentioned Titanic.
Oh, sure.
Tied for favorite film of all time.
And you could get pneumonia by shooting those scenes, and all the actors knew that.
I think some of them did.
They more than likely did. I mean, you're still, at the end of the day, you're a human being and you're fragile. But you know, film sets, as well you know, are 10 to 12-hour days, and you're living with that small community of actors, and then you, in a sort, become a family, because they're all you see, these people, the cast and crew, for months at a time. I mean, my movies, my shorts we only filmed for 10 days, but I can just imagine doing a full-length feature film, and you're even celebrating holidays and maybe your birthday with cast and crew, and you become bonded in and of that very nature of the film industry.
Yeah, and I love the bond that comes with being on a film set, and it makes it hard to finish a film. It's always such a joy to work with everyone, and that when it ends, it's tough, but hopefully you work together again in the future.
That's right. And you always say, oh, we'll stay in touch, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, people go on to other things, other projects, and you do lose touch with a good number of people. I mean, you try to, you know, be friends and stay in that circle, but life happens, you know, and it happens quickly.
Yes.
So, and we know this in film especially.
And you mentioned Sandra Bullock. I know you're a big fan of hers. Is she one of your favorite actresses?
Yes, she is. Mm-hmm. I just love her versatility. I mean, she can do comedy, she can do drama. And as she ages, I'm looking to her for inspiration, because that's one of the things that I really worry about or am concerned about, aging actresses. I mean, it happens in Hollywood where, you know, you hit that 40 mark and, you know, all of a sudden it's either a character actress or you're out of consideration.
Yeah.
And one of the things I wanted to do with my films is to prove that a middle-aged woman can still be a leading lady. Mm-hmm. So I thought, you know, if no one's going to cast me, I'll write my own movies and then I can star in my own stories. And it's been a wonderful creative outlet for me in that regard, you know, to prove that Just because you're middle-aged doesn't mean you're over the hill.
Yeah. When you say you're making these projects, were you having trouble getting cast in things?
For the parts and the roles that I wanted, yes.
Oh, wow.
And I had come down to Florida to care for my elderly parents. And I was just watching them age and kind of fade away. And I needed a creative outlet for myself. So I started writing these movies. And one of the most wonderful, rewarding things for me was seeing my mother bloom as an actress again, because I rehearsed all my lines with her. And toward the end of her life, she had dementia and was not too responsive in a regular conversation. But when I told her, I said, Mom, I'm making a movie and I want to learn these lines. Will you help me? And it was just amazing because she came alive again and she got to be an actress again, even though it was in her living room with me, just practicing lines. It meant the world to me. And I know that she enjoyed it. And it was one of the last things we did together as mother and daughter.
Wow.
And my second film was dedicated to her. My first film, my father never got to see it because he passed before it was completed. So that's their legacy. And I guess I'm just trying to carry it forward in what I do and just make sure they're not forgotten.
Yeah. Did you ever get to work with your mom on a stage or on a screen?
No, not professionally. I wish I had.
Yeah.
But, it's funny because she played a witch.
Oh,
in
really?
her career. Yes, she did. And now I get to play a witch. So maybe that's inherent in the maternal line. I don't know. But it's a lovely coincidence that she has also played a lady of magic.
She was also interested in witchcraft.
I think it runs in our family a little bit. I think there's some talents there. They always say, write what you know, write what you're closest to, write what you're familiar with. And I had studied the craft back in New York. And of course, there's been plenty of movies and TV series about witches. My goal was to portray a modern witch as a real woman, still a human being. And she has frailties and she has faults and she's a lazy witch. You're supposed to practice like anything else. You get better by doing. And I made her somewhat of a protagonist. She has flaws. I think that's the best kind of hero or heroine to root for, is someone that you can identify with.
Mm-hmm. And how she helps women and children. And in the most recent film, she will time travel to be of service, even though she's like, I don't know if I want to.
Exactly. I make her reluctant.
Yeah.
She's not stepping up like, da-da-da, super witch. She's like, really? Me again? I really just wanted to read a book on the lanai. What do you mean I have to go back in time? This is crazy. But she does what she has to. And I have to make it entertaining. So that's the slippery slope, is to try to bring a little reality to witchcraft in the movies, but also just make it entertaining and engaging. Looking at the Harry Potter series, J.K. Rowling created a whole world complete with a newspaper and witches and wizards, and it was absolutely amazing. This whole world was created in her mind. And then flushing it out on the big screen after these books had been mega bestsellers in England and here in the United States.
Are you a big fan of Harry Potter?
I am.
That's one of the best franchises.
Absolutely.
And what a great way to learn about storytelling and show don't tell and adding details to a character.
And we just lost Maggie Smith.
Yes.
Minerva McGonagall, just a brilliant actress in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
And really a character actress. One of her defining moments was The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie, and I did that play also.
Oh.
I would love to be the kind of actress that can't be categorized, that can do a myriad of roles. One of my favorite actresses is Cate Blanchett.
Ah, yes.
And I think she's the perfect example because she can play a heroine, but she also plays more interesting characters, Galadriel in Lord of the Rings trilogy. I draw inspiration from these powerful female actresses that seem like they can do anything. They change their looks or they learn a dialect, and it's just amazing to try to hold yourself up to that kind of standard. It's a lofty goal.
Do you think with these actresses, Cate Blanchett, Sandra Bullock, Kate Winslet even, do you think that there's more of a space for older actresses now to have roles?
I do. I think that they've pushed the boundaries. They're pushing the limits out. And that's wonderful because we don't like to be pigeonholed, nor should we.
No.
And something I'd like to see is more female directors.
Yes.
More female crews. Wouldn't it be nice to have an all-female crew? I'm sure it's been done, but not to the extent that I'd like to see it be done.
Do you think one of your films would ever have an all-female crew?
That would be amazing. I had this idea of maybe a production company called FEMME, F-E-M-M-E, if you don't know the French spelling, but that would be Female Empowered Movie Makers Extraordinaire.
Oh, I love that.
FEMME.
That's powerful and it's...
Right? I mean, I'm putting it out there. Maybe I'll manifest this. But
Yes.
Imagine an all-female production company writing, producing, and starring in the movies that they want, telling their stories their way. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's key. That would be everything.
We need more of that in film.
Absolutely. It's still, I feel, very much so a male-dominated field.
Oh, yeah.
And even looking at my movies, I would say that 85% of the crew is male. I had a male cinematographer, male camera guys. We have women for first AD and some of the assistants, but I mean, I'd love to see women in the more powerful roles. And actually, I did have a female director for my first 3 movies, Robin Hoffman, and she is very much revered in the film world in Florida. And I know she's going to do some big things because she's already looking at a movie distribution deal. So,
oh, wow.
Again, we watch through others, and live cathartically or just hope that maybe one day that'll be us. But she is kind of trailblazing down that path. So I'd love to see her be successful. And I think that's what I think that we're changing our viewpoint and that we're rooting each other on more than we ever have. And you don't be jealous and just don't be nitpicking, just wish the best for everyone. Mm-hmm. And thereby you can attain as well. But we're really in competition with ourselves, not anyone else. So the more inroads are made by female producers and filmmakers, the better we all are.
Mm-hmm. Robin Hoffman, actually, Graham Zielinski had said to me that she's going places and to keep a lookout for her. And as you said, she directed 3 of your films. I should have added some context of how we met through Time Will Tell around a year ago. And on the set, there were several women, and I think it just was a very supportive environment, and it was just a joy every day, honestly.
And you'd made a cameo, didn't you?
I made a cameo.
You were in my movie.
Yes, I made an acting cameo. Some people would be surprised to hear me say that.
And that the big thing with film is you have to adjust and you have to adapt. And, as an example, I replaced 5 different actors in that film. 5.
Really?
Well, people get sick. People get better gigs. People just up and quit, for all reasons. But the big word became pivot. Pivot, pivot, pivot. How are we going to adjust? How are we going to fix this? Mm-hmm. What do we do? And on that rainy day, and, we were hoping for sun. This was an outdoor scene. It was pouring buckets. So the extras, many of the extras that are unpaid, they're just not going to show up. So we're supposed to have this scene where I'm walking down a city street filled with people. Well, that didn't happen. And then we had to put you in a 1600s outfit, you and the photographer, who's a good friend of mine, Chrissy Sparrows Brandt, VC Brandt Photography. We had to dress you up. Luckily, we had a costumier who was wonderful, Christina Gibson.
Yes.
And she had learned to just bring tubs of corsets and waistcoats and long gowns and bonnets and scarves. So she attired the 2 of you, and you walked in this scene where I'm coming into the print shop. Mm-hmm. And you were thankfully up for that. You could have said, no, I'm not putting on an outfit and walking down a rainy street.
I wouldn't have said no. I'm happy to help in any way I can with your productions. So I wore a bonnet and everything, and it was okay. And I think I did all right. I looked straight ahead. It was fine. And
you look terrific. I mean, I would not have known that you're not a 1600s, townsperson.
Exactly what I was going for.
Yeah, sure. And you'll probably never forget that.
No.
Here, put this on. Get out there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. She walked one way, I walked another way.
That's right. And you're kind of bookending me, and I'm in the middle. Mm-hmm. So
the hooded figure going in.
That's it. I mean, you have to work with what you got. And I think that that's one of the major things with film is it's taught me how to be much more adaptable and think on the fly.
Yeah.
A spur of the moment. Well, okay, so that actor's not here. Who are we going to get to replace them? And in that case, one of them was the judge. We were filming a courtroom scene, and the actor, Scott Skurlock, who's a wonderful actor, happened to get a better gig that paid more money. So he was off, although some people might not have thought that was too professional to leave us hanging. So we looked around for an older gentleman that could fit the bill, and there was an extra, and this man had never acted before in his life.
Oh.
And he had lines to read. Luckily, he was playing a judge, so we had his whole script right in front of him as part of the court papers. But he had to wear the gray wig with the curls, like you've seen the Puritan men that they wore back then. And I'm sure he was a nervous wreck, but he pulled it out.
He was great.
He was great.
And even his voice was just perfect.
And he's in the trailer. He made the trailer.
Yeah.
And I know he's proud of himself. He may never get to act in another movie. That's not what he wants to do. But I'm sure it was a thrilling experience and terrifying at the same time, as we know film can be.
Yes, it definitely can be. But it's also enjoyable all at the same time. It's nervous but excited.
You have to make the nervousness work for you and kind of push over it, and performers do that all the time.
So we had mentioned your parents, they were in show business. How old were you when you were first on a set and brought into the world of show business?
Oh my gosh, I think I was like 6. Wow. I mean, I did some things when I was a child, yeah.
Oh.
A couple commercials and a lot of plays. Of course, I was in school, so I was in chorus and all of those things, but I got the bug fairly early, watching my parents perform too. And I would go backstage at the Broadway theater and see them in their dressing rooms. And it was special. And I realized not all kids get to do that, Yeah. And it was very unique because, of course, I learned about show business very early. My father was never home. And there are shows, when you do Broadway, there's 8 shows a week. And he would come home exhausted. Thinking back, I don't even know how he did it, Mm-hmm. And my mother eventually quit Broadway and started to raise me in the suburbs of Manhattan. But, we listened to Broadway albums all the time. We were always going into the city to see other shows. So it was a very unusual upbringing, lots of music in the house. My mother played the piano and, of course, sang extensively. So it was different. It really was. And there were many times I wished I had a father that was like a businessman and he'd be home on the weekends.
Really?
But yeah, you always want what you don't have, right?
Sure.
But now I realize how special and unique that upbringing was, to be a part of the theater indirectly through my parents and then eventually do theater myself.
Yeah, and a very creative and accepting household, it sounds like. I think that's great as a child to have, be able to express yourself and be in an artistic setting.
And use your imagination, always imagination.
Yes.
Now, I loved theater, I loved the stage, but the reason I love film, I think even more, is because in a theater, you sit, all the chairs are facing the same direction, and you're looking at the proscenium and the stage, so you're kind of in this very enclosed world of what to look at and where. But in film, everything is camera placement. And there's so many options. And I've been learning what it means to place the camera up high or to place it down low or over here. So the film creatives can use that to direct the audience's attention rather than being told where to look and having no choice sitting in a theater. Film is so psychological. There's so many, look at Hitchcock. Look at
Yes.
the pioneer of the camera angles to make someone look evil or to show their intent, and they haven't even opened up their mouths yet.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's magic, in my opinion.
I'm so happy you mentioned Hitchcock. It's one of the greatest directors. But it's funny you mentioned the angles because you had done a Honda commercial, which is wild, by the way. You're getting, a stunt double was being thrown around and it looks like you. And then this angle of this guy is very low and intimidating. And it's just, what a commercial.
Oh, thank you. That was in New Jersey. A couple of football players owned a car dealership. Oh. So they wanted the commercial to reflect who they are, being football players. So I played a snotty saleswoman. And every time I'm not giving the customer the best deal, they would come running down the hallway and fake tackle me. So it was a creative concept. I mean, it's amazing the kind of ideas that you'll come into play with film and also in this case a commercial.
Yeah. That must have been a fun commercial.
It was. And I still watch it and am amazed at this. She was a gymnast, and she does get thrown through the air. I think they brought in some kind of a trampoline mat that she got to kind of bounce off of to add to the effect. And,
oh my gosh.
And, it's everything now is CG. And when I was first coming along, we had to create these effects in a more realistic way. You couldn't turn to a computer and just have it, AI create something for you. You had to create it yourself.
Yeah.
So it was a lot more challenging.
Oh, yeah. And I think practical effects can have a better look on camera sometimes. I mean, I look at Christopher Nolan's work, the practical effects, it gives, as Christopher Nolan says, a bite to the image. And it's more challenging to do, but the results are pretty tremendous.
Right. And no one's going to look at it and go, that's CG, what a cop-out. You really are doing it. And like you said, it brings an excitement and a realism to that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, we had mentioned your dad. He worked with big bands, a Broadway musician. Mm-hmm. And you said he worked on the score for Reds, Warren Beatty's film?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you get a front row seat to him creating the score?
I did not.
Oh,
I think I was in college at the time, but I was not around for that one. But I know he looked back on it fondly, seeing some of the actors and everything. But basically, the musicians are all on a sound stage just recording. So I'm not even sure he ever even got to see Warren Beatty.
Oh,
Maybe in passing, but I mean, it's not the same as being like on the film set.
Yeah.
So
I was going to ask if you ever got to meet Warren Beatty.
No, much to my sadness, I guess. Because he's a very unique individual.
Oh yes, one of the trailblazers of New Hollywood.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
On the Captain Quarters podcast, you mentioned that you shared a love of old Hollywood and the stars such as Errol Flynn and Olivia de Havilland. Mm-hmm. Is this your favorite era of cinema?
One of them, yes. And again, the realism, I mean, you can see that they sped up the fight scenes with Errol Flynn and Basil Rathbone, and they're fighting at like double speed, double time. But yes, there was a certain glamour and allure to those days.
Some say that older films are better than they are today. Is there anything that you think old Hollywood films have that today's films don't?
Well, they had a mystery about them. They didn't allow any nudity. So there was a romance that was, garnered by the stars and by how much they did do, which was not much. So maybe a kiss meant that much more. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, I mean, even on TV, I see things that are a little bit too much, maybe. So there's less mystery. There's more revealed, but with that comes challenges as well. I love the old glamorous. I mean, first of all, they were shooting in black and white. So, I mean, you could only imagine what the stars were wearing in color. So that was a whole different era. And glamorous costumes that they would attire their leading ladies in, like Rita Hayworth, Hedy Lamarr, Mae West. I mean, those gals were old screen legends.
Yeah.
And nowadays, as I said, it comes with its own set of challenges. But is the nudity necessary? You could probably do a whole podcast on just that topic.
Yeah.
Or is it too much? What is too much and what is going too far?
At that time, you can get very creative with avoiding the censors. I mean, you mentioned Hitchcock, Vertigo. There was a kiss between the two lead characters, which if you're not married, you're not really allowed to do that. And same can be said about many films. I mean, The Children's Hour as well. They really evaded the censors with the giant topic of the film. It's fascinating.
It was alluded to in
yes.
The Children's Hour. I know exactly what you're talking about. I actually did a scene from it, so I know what you're referring to. And a lot more was left up to the imagination of the viewer or the audiences.
Yeah.
But nowadays, everything's, I mean, they have intimacy coordinators. Mm-hmm. Many actors are required to do the scene totally nude. And some of it is shown. So, I mean, you have to have a strong stomach. You have to be all in to do that sort of thing. You have to really want to cooperate. If you make a fuss, then there's always someone else they can get, My father used to say, if you don't want to do it, there's 10 people lined up behind you that will.
Yeah.
Whether it's poor pay or bad material, So you either have to make that decision for yourself internally. Do I do this? I'm sure if you talk to a lot of the stars, they all started with material that was less than stellar. And you do the best you can. If you want to keep your career moving forward, you try to make the right choices. You don't want to make anything that's going to come back to haunt you,
right,
or bite you in the end.
Yeah.
And that has happened to some Hollywood people,
Yeah. The talk shows always manage to find the older work that they did, the earliest work, and
the embarrassing stuff, right?
The embarrassing stuff, and I always feel bad for them.
Well, like Jennifer Aniston was in a movie called Leprechaun.
Right. Yes.
I think she would like to forget about that, but at the time, that was a big role in her first horror film.
Right. Yeah. First horror film. I don't think she's done many horror films.
No, I don't think she has.
No.
I think that was it. Leprechaun was the end of her horror. But Jamie Lee Curtis made a career out of being a scream queen.
Mm-hmm. Following in the footsteps of her mother.
Mm-hmm.
Psycho, amazing.
There it is. Yeah, right. We just tied that all together. See what happened?
Oh, yes. So, I'm very curious how you first got into radio and voice acting. Did someone tell you that you had a great voice?
I know exactly. I was an intern at a radio station, and it was a 500-watt daytimer, AM, and the midday girl got a better job. And I had interned there for a couple of months. I was trying to do news stories. I don't know how good I was at it, but they asked me to first fill in, and then I eventually got the job. And I mean, I'm really dating myself, but this was records. This was wax. Okay. This was vinyl. Mm-hmm. So we had 2 turntables and giant pots on the board, these volume control knobs. And I loved it. I thought it was just terrific. And it had this allure for me to I talk into this microphone and my voice gets beamed all over the neighborhood. This is so cool. And it paid the bills. As I got more experienced, I got better jobs, I made more money. And then I was working New York, and, radio is radio. It's the same premise. You're talking into a mic, and you hope that the listeners gravitate toward your personality. A lot of the music stations, it's what format you're playing. So I did almost everything but country and gospel. I did hot AC. I did soft AC. I did rock and roll. My DJ name on this rock station, we were out of Hartford, Connecticut, and it was Triple C, WCCC Hartford, 106.9 FM. And my name was Roxanne Rolls.
I like that name. That's right? A great name.
I should patent that. I really should. Roxanne Rolls. And I was playing, I guess U2 was out with Joshua Tree at the time. REM was just coming along. It was the early 80s. But anyway, that was when radio was live. There were no podcasts. There were no taped. Nothing was taped. We didn't have computers. So all the boards were live. Commercials were live. And I was pretty good at it. That's still, radio at the time was still very much a male-dominated field.
Oh, I'm sure.
So if you were a woman and you were good, you could advance your career fairly quickly. And that's what happened to me. And the money was great. So I put acting on the back burner for a long time and just did radio for 30 years, and I loved it. Wow. I did appearances, and it was during that time that I had a stalker. 12 years that went on with a mentally ill man, and whom I had never met personally. So he was just kind of a fan, a deranged fan. And he thought that I had had a baby with him. And then he turned up on a gun registry. So
oh my God.
He was mentally ill and had been put away. But what was happening, after a couple of years of treatment and therapy, he would get better, and then they would release him back out on the streets. And without the medication and the therapy and the supervision, his delusions would come back. He was a paranoid schizophrenic, and he was a very large man. He was like 6'2" and 280 or something. He was very imposing.
Yeah.
And so he would keep coming around to the radio stations. And at the time, the only thing that we could do was hit him with a trespassing violation. And that's a misdemeanor. That's not even a felony. So back then, a lot of this stalking of celebrities, or in my case, a minor celebrity, there were no laws to protect us. And at the time, the Commissioner of Mental Health had said, well, we can't issue a restraining order because he won't be able to comprehend what it is, and therefore could not abide by it. And there's something to be said for that. But I had said, well, what about my rights? I'm a sitting duck in this radio station, especially that when we found out that he'd bought a gun. We didn't know if he was planning to kidnap me or kill me or whatever the voices were telling him to do, he would do. So it was very scary. But luckily, I used my platform. I was well known in the community, and I didn't even know the first thing about legislation or passing a law. How do you do that? I mean, they don't teach you that. At least when I was back in school, they didn't teach me that. No. And I found out rather quickly how to go about it. It was a long process. All litigation and legislation is. But I had to get a politician to kind of sponsor the bill, to write it up. And the two things that I changed were a restraining order can go longer than 6 months, because women were having to take off from work and having to renew their restraining orders against them. Most of the time it was men that were assaulting them, and that was wrong. And then the very fact that a mentally ill person could not be served with a restraining order, we changed that. We had to, because many of the stalkers and deranged fans are mentally ill, and they need to be helped as well. They need to go into a treatment facility and get better. And that's the only way that we could kind of advocate for that. So, I believe that everything happens for a reason, especially the bad things. So after 12 years of this, I was pretty sick and tired of being followed and stalked. And we just got the ball rolling on the legislation. It passed in the House. I needed a Republican senator on board as well, so it could be bipartisan. And it passed unanimously. So then I could use my very bill that I had enacted and try to help this man. I didn't want him just to never see the light of day again. I wanted him to get the help that he so rightfully deserved. He's a person too. But I had to protect myself and everyone at the radio station as well, because they were frightened. They were really scared. And I was getting a little bit out of my head too, with everything that was going on. But looking back at it, I see it as a positive thing that came out of that. And this was before all the celebrities were getting stalked, in Hollywood. So I was one of the first cases. And you try to make change, make a positive change when the circumstances present themselves. So
you knew about this for 12 years. You had 12 years. This guy was in the back of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
12.
Well, he would do about a year and a half would be about average in a mental care health facility. Mm-hmm. And then, as I said, he would get better and they'd release him, but then he would not be taking his medication. He would not be monitored. And the mental illness would slowly come back. And then, sure enough, he would show up on my doorstep, both at the radio station and at my house. So and we didn't know what he was capable of. It was the uncertainty of how his mental illness could impact him and make him act and do things that I don't even want to use the word normal, because mm-hmm. I just wanted him to get better and to be healthy. And some people never get better. And to this day, what actually helped me was 9/11. And I'll tell you why, because his original country of origin was South Africa. He was not native to the United States. And after 9/11, anyone who came to our country and was committing felonies or unlawful acts over and over and over again could be deported. And that's eventually what happened to him, is that he got sent back to South Africa. And I never heard from him again. So, but I did enact that law. I'm proud of it. It's one of the better things that I've done in my life, one of the more positive things that affects other people, other women or men, whoever is being stalked. We changed a law. We put a new law on the books, and that can be my legacy along with my films, because I don't have children. I'm a childless cat woman. There's a term that's getting bantered around a lot these days.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you look for ways that you can leave your mark on the world, and that is definitely one of the things that I'm probably the proudest of. That's for you to say that you just wanted him to get help, the help that he needed after all that you had been through this over a decade. That's really indicative of who you are and
kind of a person you are. And as you said, so many people have benefited from your law. Have people reached out to you? And
Yes, I've done some interviews. I was on the Montel Williams show when he was doing his talk show in New York. The story was covered in the Sunday New York Times. It was also made into kind of a mockumentary, if you will, where an actress was cast as me, and I got to narrate it. Kind of exciting, but ultimately the greater good was to help anyone, male or female, who has been stalked and get some rights. And nowadays, with the cyber stalking, things have escalated in other media and on other mediums. Mm-hmm. So now all of that has to be addressed.
Yeah.
So as technology evolves, the laws must evolve with it, that we must protect everyone. Everyone has rights, but things have to be spelled out, or law enforcement can't act and do their job. And I thought in the back of my head, well, if he ever corners me and I can't get out of this situation, I'm going to say, well, I have to get home to the baby. I would have to use his delusions in my favor.
Yeah.
So that was, it was hard to do your job and concentrate when you never knew if you were going to get jumped on the way out to your car or held at gunpoint. Thankfully, that never happened. I know that there have been some DJs who have had far worse. So you have to, like I said, protect yourself. And if the laws aren't working, then you have to change the laws. So that kind of got the ball rolling, I think, for some other cases. It's a terrible thing to have to go through. But when you're a celebrity, no matter how famous, or in my case, just a local celebrity, these kinds of things can happen. And now, of course, there's been a whole slew of Hollywood stars that have been stalked or even attacked or stuff thrown in their face. I mean, it's the dark side of fame. It's the dark side of being well known. Not everybody's going to like you, And look at your podcast. I mean, through the internet, you can reach thousands, even millions of listeners. Mm-hmm. And you never know what they might be thinking, or, I don't want to scare you, but I mean...
I've already been through the rabbit hole of this. I get scared over this sort of thing.
Well, sure. But I mean, taking that strength, empowering yourself, giving yourself the power to do something. In my case, I was mad. I was mad. And the madness, getting angry about the situation overcame my fear. Because I was like, well, this just sucks. What are we going to do about it? So it kind of, again, forces you to go outside the box and think about ways to change the situation. What do I need to do, and how do I go about doing it? Mm-hmm. And I was lucky that people knew me from being on the radio. So that worked in my favor, much as it had worked against me with him having a fascination or obsession with me.
Yeah. And when the bill was enacted, did that provide you the closure to the situation that time in your life?
Yes, it did. And I felt like I'd accomplished something other than just playing music on the radio. I mean, it's great. I can be entertaining. But how am I going to make a change that will better bad scenarios? I mean, it's something I can really be proud of. And I'm sure, like I said, laws have to keep evolving for the situations that eventually come up with now the internet and cyber stalking, and it's a whole new world out there. So it can seem very overwhelming and frightening at times, but taking action empowers you and the people around you.
Yeah. I'm so sorry this happened to you. It's absolutely terrifying and it's terrible, but what an impact you've had on so many. It's really admirable.
Thank you. Some good came out of it.
Yes.
Some good came out of it. So, looking back at your life, and you will see this as you get older, things happen for a reason, especially the bad stuff.
Yeah.
I saw a quote from Mark Twain the other day, and I was like, oh, this is so apt. This is perfect. I'm going to remember this forever. Where he says, the two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. And I went, wow, that just resonates with me.
And that's how you felt when you enacted the law, that this was what you were meant to do? This was... Sure.
I mean, and of course, at the time, I was in my 30s. I mean, I didn't know that I'd wind up coming to Florida and making films. We don't know. We don't know what's ahead of us, and it can be very strange and very weird. Just try and stay ahead of the curve and be flexible and adaptable and see where life takes you, because you never know.
Yeah. And Going from being an intern to now being in front of the mic, if you were told you would be doing this for 30 years at that point, would you have been...
I would have laughed. I would have said, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
I'm going to play music and just be a DJ on the radio. But it was a very good career for me. It was a good fit. And most of the time, back then on radio, you had anonymity because nobody knew what you looked like. They knew what you sounded like. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, eventually cameras started coming into the radio station, and then we had the stalking case. And so then my face was all over the newspapers and on TV. And so I lost some of my anonymity.
You had mentioned Roxanne Rolls. KT Mills was another name.
That's right.
What did going by a different name do for you?
Well, back then it was for anonymity reasons. I chose KT Mills because the K and the T came out of Catherine, which is my middle name. Oh. And Millard was just kind of shortened and contracted into Mills. And I figured, well, there's a million Millses out there. I'll just blend in with one of them. Actually, it's funny because a lot of people think my last name is Vox. Right. Because my business is Vesta Vox. And I'm like, hey, maybe that's not a bad idea. Alliteration is memorable, they say. So, I mean... but actually, one of the things with making my movies is that I've kind of stepped back into my own name. Yeah. I'm Vesta Millard. That's my real name. And I'm kind of proud of that. So I'm not hiding behind a moniker or a stage name, if you will. So I'm making my movies as Vesta Millard. Although I might go to Vox. I don't know.
A different era.
Right. Yeah, that would be my 2030s. I don't know.
2030s.
It's coming. Yes. It's only 6 years away.
Oh, gosh.
Isn't that crazy?
I can't
even believe it's October.
I can't even believe it's been 4 years since the pandemic.
Yeah. And the pandemic changed everything. As I mentioned, my first movie was made in 2021. And we were just coming out of the pandemic. And Robin Hoffman, my director, had COVID. Had a very bad, almost died from COVID.
Oh, my God.
So we did something. At the time, I said, this is either the craziest thing I've ever done or the stupidest thing I've ever done. And we went forward with my first film with no director.
Whoa.
That was stupid. I will go on record on your show as saying, that's stupid. That was a bad idea.
What went wrong?
Well, it's just without a director to be at the helm, the captain of the ship, to kind of control all the different elements and put it together and form that unique entity that's going to be your movie. We didn't have that. And the first AD, I think, was overwhelmed with the responsibility of kind of taking over. And I feel the movie suffered from it. Now, this was the first film I ever made. So we as filmmakers look at our films about 400 million times, point out all the mistakes, point out the wrong camera angle or a bad shot, or just, we go nutsy over it, a little OCD about, why did I do it that way? I should have done it this way. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's filmmaking. This is what I'm being told by other filmmakers, that you will do that. You will psychoanalyze yourself until, it can make you stay up nights.
Were you like that when you were on radio or on stage or in your voiceover?
No, I actually, for radio for me was very easy. Huh. I always kind of knew in my mind that I'm just doing this for now. Even though 30 years went by. See what happens? I'm warning you now. 30 years went by. I'm just doing this for now. And the money was good and I was paying my bills. And I thought, well, why should I go back to acting? That's risky. Plays close and movies finish shooting and then you're out of work again. So radio for me was a steady job. It was just a practical way of getting by. So I've kind of come full circle because now that radio, that part of my life is over with, I went independently and I decided to start making money for myself instead of radio stations and go solo with my voiceover business. And that's done very well. And I'm very lucky and very blessed and very grateful just to be able to work from home. And I was doing that before COVID. And because of the internet, have my pieces go all over the world. So again, it was the right fit at the right time. Yeah. I've had a lot of synergy in my life, and I'm sure a lot of people would feel the same way. If you look back and you say, yeah, that kind of sucked, but that made me do this. And then I met her or him, and then that kind of put me here. Life has a way of kind of controlling the scenario, if you will, and you just try and do the best you can with what you're given. And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes that can lead to miraculous things. And you'll say, my God, how did I get here? It's fantastic. I'm having the time of my life. And with film, I have fallen in love with film. I love it. It's one of those things where you bitch while you're doing it, and then you bitch when you're not doing it. You're like, well, what do I do next? I'm going crazy. I just finished my 4th film. I'm like, what do I do? I'm like bored. I'm like, do I need to start writing a new one? It's like, it's addictive. It's crazy in a good way.
Yes. It's very creatively fulfilling.
Oh my gosh, I love it. It's so different from theater. And I just love it. I love all the aspects of film. With theater, you do the same show every night. But if you mess up in a scene, that's what that audience gets to take home with them. They'll remember that you messed up a line, or an actor didn't come on with his cue, or something happened. But with film, you perfect it. And I love that. I love that you do the same scene over it. And some people hate that, but I love the repetition, because every time you do it, you inject little differences. Even if you're trying to do it the same way, the sun changes positions and the light is different, or a line comes out differently and you don't really even intend it. It's just that if you're doing things 5, 6, 7, 29 takes, things are going to be a little different. But I love that idea that you're honing, you're creating, and we're going to keep doing it until the director and the cinematographer are satisfied.
Right.
So I love that idea, because I always used to say in the theater, I was off tonight. It wasn't my best performance. And those 300 people are going to remember that. I wasn't giving the best performance I could give. So that can haunt you. In film, at least, I think that you do it and do it and do it over and over and over. And then I'm sure one of the scenes, one of the takes will be as close to perfect as you can be.
Right.
It's weird. I'm for some reason, I don't get nervous for film.
Really?
I got nervous a lot for stage. There's something with that live element and the expectation of all those faces looking up at the stage, especially if I was singing on stage, and I did a number of musicals, but I would get very nervous. Film, I don't know, I just feel more ready for film, because there's so many months, for my films, in preparation, all the pre-production stuff that goes into it. By the time you get to set, I'm chomping at the bit. I can't wait to go. So I don't know. It's weird. I don't, at least so far, knock wood, I'm not going to jinx myself. I don't seem to get nervous for film. I don't know why. I love it.
I wonder if stage really prepared you for it, because it's a completely different approach, and having to memorize your lines in such a way, and the articulation of it all. And some actors say that you're a real actor when you're on stage. Like, that's when the real acting is.
It's true. It's harder.
It is harder, yeah.
Because in film, and I would come and want to do the whole scene all the way through, and they'd be like, no, you just have to do 2 lines, and then we're moving the cameras over here. I'm like, what? You mean I don't have to go through the whole scene? It was almost a relief. It was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Or I might need my makeup touched up, and we're going to stop everything while I go off and get my hair brushed. So that, I don't know, I'm just digging on film. I don't know what to say, Elizabeth. I love it. And it's so wonderful to be this old and get passionate again and feel that fire get ignited. And you're just like so into it. And I'm hiring young people like yourself that are up and coming, who I truly believe are going to go places. Not a doubt in my mind. And long after I'm dead and buried, or ashes on the ocean, one of these people is going to say, hey, you know how I got my start? I did that witch movie with that girl in Florida. And that'll just make my heart sing, just hearing that. But I'm giving them a foothold in the industry, because, as I'm told, you can't just go out to LA and say, I'm a lighting designer. So I'm blessed to get some of these graduates out of Full Sail, which is an amazing program for film and television production. And these graduates really know what they're doing, and they're invested 100%. So when they come to set for my little movies, and they're working for $100 a day for 10-hour days, then I realize, wow, this is great. And everybody is trying so hard. Everybody wants to make the best film they can make. And it's such an integral connection. There's so many working parts that have to do their job. And I've learned that if one person doesn't do a great job, it can impact the whole film.
Mm-hmm. Very much a team effort.
Oh, big time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like my latest film was, for me, it's all about the locations. I'll find the locations first, and then I'll write the film to fit the locations.
Oh, before you write. Oh, I was going to ask about your location scouting in that process, like what you're looking for. And are you going to different places trying to gain inspiration? You're like, I can see Tara doing this here.
You got it. That's
Wow.
exactly. I took a ride on that pirate ship. We rented a pirate ship. It's a tourist boat, but it's, for all intrinsic purposes, made up to look like a real pirate ship. And I went out on the boat because they take it out, and I thought, this would be really good in a movie. So the brain got, twirling, and ideas were percolating, and I thought, can I do a period film? It's one of the hardest things to tackle.
Raising the budget immediately.
Well, I mean, and I was grateful that in St. Augustine, Florida here, and in many places all over the United States, there's a subculture of pirates where they take their pirating very seriously. So we have men that look like pirates. They come with their own outfits that are period authentic. And then the wheels start going, and I'm like, okay, let's put pirates in this movie because it fit. The scenario fit the movie, not the other way around. And I had someone say to me, well, you're doing everything backwards. I said, no, not in my mind, I'm not. Find the location first. Write the scene to fit the location. Yeah, maybe it's a bit backwards. It beats tearing all over the world looking for, that perfect place for a scene that you've already written. Mm-hmm. For me, it makes more sense. We did that with the Gazette, the scene that you're in. Mm-hmm. There is a period authentic print shop, which is in the area of the Colonial Quarters and the Pirate Museum here in St. Augustine. And I thought, with its practically realistic, authentic printing presses that are in this building, and I thought, I've got to put a scene where there's a printing press, where there's a newspaper, a 1600s, because newspapers have been around for hundreds of years, but I thought it was so beautiful and so unique with all the wood and these, of course, they're antiquated printing presses, but I thought, we've got to find a way to put this in the movie. And so we wrote a scene that brought my witch character into the town, and then her relative that she her great, many times, 10 times over, grandmother, works in the printing press. So that's where she knows that she needs to go there. So the scene was put into the movie. So again, it may be a bit backwards of how other writers and producers work, but with our limited budget, with the fact that it's bottom of the barrel filmmaking, indies, that's how I do it. I find a place first and then say, well, this'll work. And then we'll write a scene with the right characters in that location.
Do you do the same when you're thrift shopping as well, when you find like cool costumes and artifacts and props?
Oh, yeah.
You do?
Absolutely. I mean, I'll let's see. Is it over there? Hold on. Stand by.
Stand by, everyone.
So, I'm in a thrift store, and I see this leather-bound book. Look at this.
Wow.
Look at that cover. It's embossed leather with tooling, and it looks like an ancient grimoire. Wow. I haven't even used it yet.
Oh, so a future film.
Possibly.
Okay.
But look at these pages and some of the illustrations that are hand-drawn. So I picked up, I'm going to pass this over to Elizabeth now. She's going to take a look and try to describe it to you.
It's like a fairy tale book.
Uh-huh. But that was about $30. And when I saw it, I said, I had to have this. And again, I'm thinking, this would be a great prop in a movie.
Yeah. Even some pages there's no words. It's just logos and designs.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
So it could be an ancient grimoire, a magical artifact that maybe a magical witch or wizard has stolen, and Tara has to help find it and track it down.
And I can already see the special effects on this book.
Maybe things leaping out of the pages,
Yes, the coloring of it all and turning into something.
What I usually do, my idea for my movies was that I don't have the money to make a feature film, nor the time. 2.5 hours, most movies shoot for 2 or 3 years. But they have entire departments, makeup, hair, costumes, props, set design. We don't have this a lot, in these indie films. You're doing a lot of it, or you and your friends are doing a lot of it. And it forces you to be clever and creative. I love thrift stores. And again, like in Time Will Tell, thank goodness the Agriculture Museum of St. Augustine was a wonderful place to film for exteriors. You can't make a period movie unless you have the right set. And I'm, knowing that we're not building the sets on a soundstage, we have to find the real deal. Like if you're shooting a scene in a graveyard, you go to a real graveyard. This is the level I'm at.
Yeah.
We're not creating sets. So we have a lot of historical things in St. Augustine, being the oldest city in the United States. There are many museums. The question is, are they going to allow you to shoot there?
Right.
And then what happens? You need agreements, you need insurance, you need all of those the red tape stuff that comes into play. Luckily, we kind of skated through on this one. We had just a lovely lady, Kara Hoblick, who runs the Florida Agriculture Museum, and we shot our exteriors there. And then when we went into some of the buildings, like the general store, it was just this tableau of exactly, maybe not literal period 1600s, but it was close.
Looked really close. Looked authentic in the film.
And when my character needs to go to the apothecary, there's an entire wall of these antique bottles that would have taken me months or years to source and collect. And they're all just there waiting for us. And it made for the most gorgeous scene. That's luck. That's happenstance. I know I've been extremely lucky, but when we saw the Agriculture Museum, we said, well, this is our little town. This is where we're going to shoot. And then we supplemented with the Pirate Museum, also in St. Augustine. Then the Pirates with their period authentic costumes, and Christina Gibson, who wants to do movies, who wants to do costumes in movies. She came on board. And so at least I knew that all the women and men in my scenes, the extras and even the main characters, were dressed in period authentic garb, or as close as possible. And that was important because nothing ruins a period film quicker than like if you see an electric outlet in the background,
right,
or an electric lamp, or a plane goes overhead, or a motorcycle goes by, or that ruins everything. So you're almost handicapping yourself in more ways when you do a period movie.
So was Time Will Tell the most challenging film to make so far because of this?
It's been the most rewarding, I can tell you that much. I don't think it was the most challenging because all of these elements came into play.
Yeah.
With the perfect locations, with a whole bunch of pirates that got a kick out of being in a movie, with a period costumier that's her thing. I mean, she is just amazing. So all of the right people just kind of came together. It was magic. Cinemagic.
Cinemagic. Yes.
That's a good name for a company, a production company, Cinemagic. Somebody already has it, I'm sure.
There might be an Instagram account called Cinemagic, maybe.
Maybe. Look into that. Get your people on that, Elizabeth. Your people.
I'm a one-person crew at this.
That's how I felt with a lot of my movies. But the positive side of that is that you have control.
Yes.
You're not ceding your responsibility to a team of other people. Mm-hmm. So you are doing it your way. Is it hard? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is it tiring? Is it stressful? Sure. But then you have your movie. When you look at your movie on the screen and you think, I did that, I created that.
Yeah.
It's like no other feeling in the world. It's magical. I can't explain it any other way. You get to see your hard work. Mm-hmm. It's a visualization right up there, and like I said, you'll psychoanalyze things to death because that's what filmmakers do. But I mean, that's how we learn. That's how we grow. Mm-hmm. I want to try to keep making films, but it's cost prohibited. It's a costly hobby, making movies.
Yeah. Even the special effects in your films.
$3,000 in this last movie.
That's wild.
We farmed out to my editor, John Von Mutius, is phenomenal. And luckily, I can trust him to get a post-production team together. And you can't make a magical movie without things floating or levitating or going on fire, or you need all of that. So as I said, I kind of handicapped myself by making movies about a good witch who goes on all these adventures. And my idea was to make these little movies in an episodic way, like a television show, and then be able to put them together and call it one umbrella name of The Witch Diaries. So being a voiceover person, I narrate the beginning of all my films and I narrate the end because it's what I do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of unique. I've had people question it. You shouldn't be narrating. I'm like,
What?
that's what I do.
Why would someone
Because it's unconventional, but aren't some of the best ideas unconventional? Nobody's doing it, so I'm going to do it that way?
Yes.
Well,
That's true innovation.
one would think, but, or they say, that's not going to work. Don't do it that way.
Watch me.
Well, yeah, there's a million experts who are always going to offer their opinions unsolicited.
Right.
I think especially to women, and I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't in a way, but with each movie we get better. And I always say, well, at least we're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
We get better, but I'm also spending more money. I'm hiring better people. It's like cooking a recipe. You use great ingredients, then the battle's half won for having that delicious cake. If you're using shoddy stuff, then it's just not going to taste as good. Because film is a visual media, so you will see all of those mistakes or oopses,
Yeah. When you look back at the evolution of From Any Which Way to Time Will Tell, how would you say you've evolved as an actress, a writer, and just as a filmmaker in general?
Wow, great question.
Thank you.
As an actress, being stage trained, everything is big. I have this booming voice, and I've really had to try to learn to contain it. Less is more. And instead of reacting with my whole face, maybe raising an eyebrow, maybe looking down, or, just it's tiny subtleties. And I'm still getting my act together because every movie I look and I really look at my performance and think, how could I have done that better? But I can see the growth, thankfully. Smaller is better, not bigger is better. Smaller is better on film. So that's my advice to all of the stage actors out there that are going into, trying to up their career and up the ante by going into film. I will probably never be the writer that Tracy Jane is. She's amazing. Writing is not my forte. So if I can get somebody to work with that's an amazing writer and give them my ideas and have them flush out the characters and then make them multi-layered, that's a gift. That's not in my wheelhouse. So you get to a certain level, and I think the secret to life is knowing what you're good at and doing that, and then knowing what you're not good at and not doing that. And it sounds so simple, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. But, at my age and with my budgets getting bigger, thankfully, I can hire people who are better at writing than I am. And that's just being wise. That's just knowing better at a certain age and going, you know what, I'm not going to do that. But I'll get somebody who's really good to write some good material. Because I think that's half the battle. You need good dialogue. You need good characters. Mm-hmm. And it's harder to do in a short.
Right.
As we mentioned, the OIF films are 9 minutes long. How do you tell a story in 9 minutes? There's hardly any time for expose. You don't get to know the characters intimately as you do with a couple of hours on the screen. Right. So that challenges you more. And what did you say? Producing? Again, it's all up to delegating, finding the right people who are going to do a great job for the amount you're paying and really bring it home. I'm in the fantasy genre, and not every film festival has a fantasy genre. So you have to find the ones that do. I'm in the Lord of the Rings category with non-marquee actors and a non-million-dollar budget. So you do the best you can. Are there roles that I would have cast differently? Absolutely. Is there parts of the story that I didn't show or tell that I would put in there? You bet. And my movies are about a half an hour long, each of them. And that was my goal. I thought, well, instead of making one large movie, I'll make these episodic things and put them all together. And they can stand on their own individually as complete stories. But if you follow along, yes, there are recurring characters for those that care, much like the Lord of the Rings, the hobbits. We're following those hobbits as they go from Rivendell to the fight Sauron on Mount Doom. And anyway.
Well, Well, I'm really surprised how critical you are of your writing because you created Tara Ward, who is unlike any character, really. I mean, I know you've mentioned Gone with the Wind on the Captain's Quarters podcast, and there is some similarities a little bit with Scarlett O'Hara, but she's an original character, and you created that.
Well, she's me. I mean, you know,
Really?
yeah.
You're very similar?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, there's a laziness to her that
I don't see laziness from you at all.
she just wants to sit on the lanai and read a book and pet her cat, you know. But yeah, I mean, she's based on me. Yeah. And I didn't want her to be a super witch.
Mm-hmm.
Tara Ward, of course, Tara comes from ter, or earth, and ward is protector, or to ward against something. So she is an earth protector. And Ward was my mother's maiden name.
Oh, really? There's a little ode to her. That's really nice.
It is. And I always loved the name Tara. I just thought, that's the most beautiful name. There was a character on, if you follow old cartoon shows, maybe some of your listeners do, the Herculoids, the nubile, beautiful blonde heroine, her name was Tara, or Tara. So I always loved that name. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll name my witch Tara Ward.
Did the meaning come to you after Earth Protector?
It did.
And it just clicked.
It did. And then I saw the synergy and the idea. I was like, oh my gosh, that's validation. And that's everything, I think, as a filmmaker. We look for that. We look for the meaning. And sometimes we're not even conscious of it as we're creating it.
Right. And then people might point it out after. And then...
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, of course I did that on purpose. Yes. Absolutely. That was the plan. Sure.
Yeah. Analysis with film, that's one of the cool things about film. You can continue to find meaning in film and make it personal to you as well.
I've got one for you.
Okay.
Why are witches, for example, the Wizard of Oz, why are many witches in folklore depicted with green skin?
Oh, I know you mentioned this on the Captain's Quarters podcast. I'm trying to think. Oh, no.
Well, think about reality. Think about history. History. And witches going back a couple of centuries, you know. What did they do with a woman who was accused of witchcraft?
Throw her in the water and
throw her in jail, awaiting her trial. And the jail conditions were less than pristine. They were horrid. There was vermin. There was disease. Quite often, the jailers would assault them. So these poor women, and they're, in a sense, waiting to die, whether it's by the trial by water or hanging or burnt at the stake, but they would get very sick. They would be so sick that they would be languishing in their cell, lying amongst the filth and the rats and the roaches, and they would lose that beautiful peachy pallor to their skin. They would turn a sickly yellow-green.
Mm. Oh.
And that's the connection. So henceforth, witches were associated with green skin.
And that comes with how they're seen as these evil creatures, evil people. When I think you had said in one of the films that you learn to be afraid of the witches and not the people killing the witches. And
correct. They're the bad guys. The atrocities that man or woman perpetrated on other people, on other humans.
Yeah.
So history, in a sense, dictates the culture and the society, and then our approach to the films and how we show them. Mm-hmm. Martin Scorsese. Mm-hmm. I was waiting for you to ask me who my favorite filmmaker is.
That was one of my questions, but then I have to go through because I have so many.
I've skipped ahead.
Well, no, I did pass it because I was like, okay, I have to move on. But yes, I was going to ask you your favorite director.
I bring him up because of Children of the Flower Moon. The man is a realist. He wants to create entire villages, trains, using Native Americans to portray Native Americans, which was radical back, 100 years ago. He is meticulous in every detail, with locations, costumes, to a point of almost madness. He is revered for actually doing multiple genres. He's done horror, he's done fantasy, he's done adventure, he's done historical. So that's who I would pick. And that's a big question with so many ways to go, so many rabbit holes to go down. And directors to revere. But just the methodology alone, I think, is what would make me go Scorsese.
Is Killers of the Flower Moon your favorite Scorsese film?
It's his most recent, and he's aging.
Unfortunately.
Aren't we all? Nominated for a slew of Oscars, and as I recall, did not win that many.
That's going to be frowned upon in the future.
Well, and the film was overly long. It was very long. I sat through it. But there's a reason why it was as long as it was.
Yes.
He's a marvel. I mean, without going off the deep end for like 3 hours talking about my admiration for that man. Every filmmaker just looks at something like that and says, one day, with enough money and you hope to be even a fraction as good as someone like that. But I like to read about filmmakers' early starts because, like I said, everybody starts somewhere. And before he was Martin Scorsese, the great, he was making films with low budgets and people that might not have been the best at what they were doing. So it gives me hope. Not that I'm ever going to be a Martin Scorsese, but if I can improve the quality of my films, the writing, the acting, each time, and we're getting better and better and better. I don't think you ever achieve perfection. I think that's part of the journey. You keep going. You just keep going.
You had said about bringing your films to film festivals, you're hoping to gain even more recognition. Have you found that with each film you are gaining recognition?
Well, I haven't submitted this latest one. I even cut back on submissions for On Blood Moon because I was making this film.
Ah.
So I wanted to pour all my resources into the movie I was currently making. So I haven't even done On Blood Moon justice. I can speak to my first two films. The first film, Any Which Way, was about, to encapsulate it, sexually abusing children and hiding behind the church. So we had in effect, and I hate to use the word evil because it's overused and it's cliche, but we had a negative priest who was hurting a little boy, and my witch character sees this in a vision. And the whole concept came from, well, first of all, things like that are still going on. And I wanted to flip the script. So the witch is the good guy, the priest is the evil person. Mm-hmm. And because of the controversial nature of that movie, I feel that it wasn't as well received. In fact, it did better overseas. We actually won an award in Tokyo.
Oh, wow.
I feel like sometimes in Europe and abroad, they're a little more open-minded than we can be in conservative America.
Increasingly conservative America.
Yes. So it kind of hurt my heart a little bit that I was submitting it to festivals here in the US and it wasn't doing anything. It was kind of floundering. But overseas, it actually won 5 or 6 awards, including Top Shorts awards. So, I mean, again, a lot of people don't want to see a reality that is very harsh. Mm-hmm. And even though we did not show any of the sexual abuse, it was quite obvious that that's what was going on. And that I eventually confront the priest, my witch character. And again, I had to do this to keep it engaging and entertaining. While I would have loved to have kept the priest as a mortal human, I had him turn into a demon so that the grand battle at the end is and she doesn't know this. She doesn't know that he's a demon incarnate in the priest's body. Mm-hmm. So that kind of really changes the game. In my second movie, the second movie did better here in the United States, in the cards. That was a love story at its heart. I said, well, I'm gonna have these murders being committed in the town and tarot cards being left by the women's bodies. And then I'm gonna have this handsome detective, investigating the murders, come into the store and consult with Tara because she is a psychic and a tarot reader and a crystal goddess, and have him not know what the cards are all about. And they fall in love. So I think everybody loved, they thought it was going to be such a happy ending for Tara.
Well,
we opened 3 at his gravesite where she's weeping and inconsolable. And to me, that was more realistic than having the recurring actor character come through all the movies. That was real life. That was a harsh taste of, I think, something that could happen if you're dating a policeman. And there's always that possibility that they get killed in the line of duty. And Tara, my character, seems to fight her battles alone. And that's the crux. It's difficult, but she does have divinity on her side. And she can call in, or has called in, gods and goddesses from various pantheons, which is just kind of cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I try to make it entertaining, but I try to keep it real in the aspect of witches are regular mortal people with lives and good times and bad times just like anybody else. So I just hope to keep it engaging and entertaining, both for the magical community and those maybe who aren't, that just want to see a good story up on the screen.
You had mentioned On Blood Moon.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite scenes in your short films is the first scene with you and Danielle Bowman, who plays Cerise.
Yes.
How did you two create such a chemistry, like a combative energy towards each other? She's the antagonist, you're the protagonist. How did you create that together?
She's an excellent actress.
She is.
And a force of nature. Mm-hmm. And she has a very strong personality, which is great. I do not. I'm a little more demure. And I always thought and that was a case of I wrote that part for her.
Ah, wow.
And again, the third movie is all about fairies. Mm-hmm. And there are good fairies and there are not so nice fairies. And borrowing from Star Wars, so the regime that is in power are the dark fae. And the light fae have all gone into hiding, and there's been a kind of a resistance force the rebel force has been formed. And there's an all-powerful crystal called the Sintamani stone. And the good fairies smuggle the crystal out of the kingdom because they know that if Cerise gets her hands on it, she will rule forever. And I always knew if I had a bitchy fairy queen, Danielle Bowman was my choice. And she's gorgeous too. She's a beautiful woman. And again, a total opposite of me, whereas I'm dark, she's fair. And I thought it was a good contrast. Yeah. And one of the first things that the character pounces on is my age. And I wanted to show that because she looks at me and as only Danielle Bowman can deliver this line, she says, "This is the great Tara Ward." I had expected someone younger. And it's like knife to the heart. Yeah. But she's so haughty, the character, and Danielle is just amazing in that role. Mm-hmm. And I wanted Tara, the whole reason, the dark fae and an evil queen, if you will, I wanted her to go up against a woman. Because in the first two movies, it's all bad men. Right. And I didn't want to just stereotype or pigeonhole myself that way. I wanted to say, you know what? She's got to go toe-to-toe with a woman who's equally as powerful in a different way. And there's an abuse of power. So that's not just a male thing. It can happen to a woman, too. So she wants to rule the kingdom. And the proper ruler of the Fae Kingdom is Mob, the Fae Queen. And she has banished her and seized power, Cerise. And when they smuggle the crystal out, where do they hide it? In my crystal shop. So I have all these fairies coming at me going, "Where's the crystal? Where's the crystal?" I'm like, "What crystal? What are you talking about?" She doesn't even know that it's in the middle of her shop because they've cloaked it. So that was a fun movie to do. We filmed at Flagler College because they have a magnificent dining hall it's full of Tiffany murals, Tiffany glass. And I thought, again, I'm thinking, where can I set the fairy court? Where? I mean, I can't build the sets. It's got to be beautiful and ethereal and magical. And Flagler College, I was doing some radio announcements for them. And somebody had said to me, "You got to see their dining hall. It's like out of Harry Potter." Yeah. And once I saw the dining hall, I'm like, this is it. This is where my fairy court's going to be, right here. Because I wouldn't do the movie unless I found a location that would be all of those things, glamorous and gorgeous and otherworldly, which is what fairies would have. Yes. So how do you do that in the real world? You know, I knew I couldn't have it in my living room. Right. So. And with the choreographed ballroom dancing, just absolutely stunning. We brought in a dance troupe. Because there's a ball, because fairies have balls. Of course they do. In my movies, they do. And I remember they had to put the pointed ears because and again, I had to make a choice in aesthetics. How are my fairies going to look? Do I want, more like Sailor Moon, or do I want more elfin? I wasn't going to do wings. So I decided on the pointed ears. So they almost look kind of elvish. But fairies are unpredictable, so they say, and they can never be tamed. So it was just a lot of fun. They had to put all the ears on the male dancers because they all had short hair.
Right.
And the women we could kind of fake if they didn't have, my 3 makeup people that were doing all these elvish ears on everybody, if they ran out of time. And we ran out of ears because
ran out of ears.
We only ordered so much. So they were kind of faking it at the end and just having the girls wear their hair down and covering their ears. Well, when you're at this level of movie making, it's
movie magic.
Yeah, it's not like we have a team of makeup artists from all over the world. I wish. And that was a big challenge for that movie is how do we want the fairies to look? What are they wearing? How do we convey dark fae? And my costuming idea was, well, we'll take the pastels of the fairy world and we'll add elements of black. So Danielle Bowman, she had a beautiful custom-made dress. One of them was pastel pink, like baby pink, but it had all these jet black beads on it. So it was powerful. It wasn't, pastel. It was like, She can do that sneer. She's got a very good haughty elegance about her. So she was absolutely flawless in that part, written for her. So there was no one else in my mind that I wanted to play that queen. I knew I had to have her or the movie just wouldn't be the same. So thankfully she said yes.
Yes.
And that's my 3rd movie on Blood Moon.
That scene and your dynamic was just knowing you two, but also seeing it as an audience member was just a joy to watch that.
Oh, thank you. She's vicious and good at it, and very good at it as an actress.
She's a very good actress and
Yes.
first AD as well.
Yes, she's incredible.
Yes.
Now that's a gal that can do it all.
Yeah, absolutely. I did want to talk about your voiceover work because that's a very big part of your career, and it's more challenging than it seems. So many people have a tough time hearing their own voice. Have you ever felt that way, or maybe early on in your career you felt that way?
Well, I mean, yes, it's very strange at first, but then I got used to it, and the biggest challenge for voiceover people is just if you're either born with a good voice or you're not. There are people that do work on it, but mostly I feel it's spirit given. So that's half the battle, but then you've got to embody these different characters. Luckily for me, I lived in England for a year. So I can do a pretty good English accent. And I've gotten jobs, actually, with my English accent. A lot of commercials want that European flair. That's more of a thing that you wouldn't hear in the United States. I just did something this morning. And I have to kind of tap into that British, because they say things a certain way. Or just watch Bridgerton, because it's all on Bridgerton, Very proper. And I can also do a really good old lady.
Really?
Yeah, I get a lot of work as an old, like a stereotypical, like a grandmother. That you just put a catch in your voice and very lilting and just, And then from there you do the witches and crones. And I played an evil queen on Regal Academy, which was a cartoon on Nick. It ran for about a year and a half. And you'll find that they'll often import cartoons from other countries. And then they have to be overdubbed.
Right.
But it's easier with cartoons because the lips are just drawn. It's not like, and I've done ADR, which is additional dialogue replacement for foreign movies.
Oh.
That's tougher.
Wow.
Yeah.
Any that we may have?
No, just because they're European or Asian based. I was working with a production company in China, and we were doing Chinese movies. So there's Chinese actors, but they wanted to overdub it in English. And it's a challenge because the way the Chinese phrase things, it's very lyrical and just beautiful, where they would say, if it was raining, here in America, we'd say, it's raining. And in more of an Asian aspect, they would be like, the snow comes down from the mountain and then it liquefies pure and radiant. And So their phraseology is a lot longer generally.
Right.
And you've got to, when you're, dubbing humans, you have to watch the lips and try to make it as close as possible. Because we've all seen those Godzilla monster movies where the dubbing isn't quite in sync.
Yes.
And it becomes a comedy very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So, and these were dramas. So you really need, like, I always used to say, I should be a spider. I need 8 eyes. I need to you're watching your script, you're watching the screen and the actor and trying to read your words to make it come out of their mouth. So it was challenging, but a lot of fun, just very intense, very intense work.
Yeah. Do you do a lot of vocal warm-ups, or do you have active vocal training?
I use the vocal training from acting.
Right.
It's kind of warming up your body and then warming up your throat and just doing some of those crazy exercises where you sound like a lunatic, the nasal passages and the tongue rolls and then the lip rolls. And I don't warm up all the time because I'm doing so many auditions that I'm generally in the zone pretty much.
Do you audition for voice?
I do. I have, when I was in New York, I had like 5 different agents. I had never signed with anyone, which is another piece of advice I'm going to give you for show business people. Mm-hmm. Do not sign with anyone right away. Don't sign with an agency. It's not what it's cracked up to be. Stay as an independent. Stay as a freelancer. Because I had each agent, if they sent me in 1 day a week, I was going in every day. And I wasn't waiting for the phone to ring. I had friends that were signed, but they could only work in conjunction with that agency.
Right.
So they were kind of locked in. I was not. So try to be independent as long as you can. That's one of the best pieces of advice I can give you. When you have to sign, if you're a must join, like for the union, okay. But you'll be able to compile a large body of work before that happens. So stay freelance as long as you can. It's not what it used to be. That used to be the ultimate goal, was to get signed. Not so much anymore. And now it's the same with books. You can be self-published. Mm-hmm. It's the same with movies. You can make your own.
Yes.
So it's a whole new world out there, a whole new mindset, I think.
Yeah. Before you had said, when I asked about perfectionism and having to do a lot of takes with acting, do you do a lot of takes for your voiceover work? And enunciation is very much
key.
Yeah, it's very key. And even with acting, some people have said, we can't hear the actors anymore.
They're mumbling their lines.
Yeah,
I know. I've always had good diction. Sometimes it's been a hindrance because I've actually had people tell me, you sound too perfect. Can you mess it up a little bit? People don't sound like you do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm never going to be the girl next door. I'm never going to be your next door neighbor, your average person. The kinds of voiceovers that I tend to do, because everybody has a niche, an area that they're very good at. I do high-end luxury brands, cars, wine, furs, jewelry, trips to exotic places like Bali. That's where I kind of shine. I just did a medical read this morning, and that's crazy when you're doing a pharmaceutical read, and there's all these words that you don't even know what they mean, let alone how to say them.
Like the side effects include?
Yeah, side effects may include loss of vision, loss of appetite.
You did one of those.
I've done a few, yes. Whatever pays the bills. But I had to look up a few of these words so I could say them correctly. So you do your research. And then a medical read is a certain tonality that you bring up, It's not bright and shiny. I've done voiceovers for the shopping networks, and everything has to sound like this. It's the most beautiful coat I've ever seen, and you need to get it right now.
I know her.
It's very shiny and like juicy. I love doing exotic lands, traveling to destinations, because it's a lot of imagery.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll give you the video to look at, so then you know what you're talking about. Like, there's nothing like a sunset over Bali. Imagine yourself by the crystal clear blue waters. And it's like almost a hypnotizing effect.
Serene.
Yes. So it's not that hard for an actor, I don't think, because you kind of picture yourself going there. Mm-hmm. Or buying that amazing thing. And it almost sounds wrong to you, but then on playback, that's what they want. So I think most of the battle with voiceovers is knowing what the client wants, what they're going for, the angle, and then just making your voice sound that way. Even if it sounds wrong or too much to you, it might be just what they're looking for.
What is your plan for releasing these shorts to a wider audience? Will they be available to watch anytime soon?
I hope so. If I'm following Robin Hoffman's path, she has been in talks to get a film distribution deal, and we'll find out how that goes. But I think that's every filmmaker's goal, is they want to share their message or entertainment with the world. I would love for that to happen. I don't know how that's going to happen at the moment. So, I would love to put these episodic little mini films together. And right now I have 4, so that would be 2 entire hours. I am going to do a premiere because I think I owe that to my actors and my crew. What I'd love to do, I'm going to rent a movie theater, I know, radical, and show my films in a movie theater, but I'm going to do a charity. I'm going to charge $5 or $10, like going to see a real movie, and have 100% of the proceeds go to help the animals. That's a literal pet charity of mine. And we have several wonderful animal charities like SAFE, Murphy's Kittens, Ancient City Cat Coalition, and Ayla's Acres right here, and St. John's Community Rescue that are here in St. Augustine. And I would like to pick 1 or 2 of them and maybe have, like I said, 100% of the proceeds. I don't want to make any money. So usually these premieres cost me money, right, because I'm still renting the theater. I'm going to have some raffle prizes and, raffle tickets for people to buy. So that way it gives it a larger scope. So it's not just about everybody go to see my movie. It's about, well, we're going to spend a few minutes in a movie theater. Maybe you'll be entertained, but we're also going to raise some money for charity. So it gives it a greater good, which I love to do.
That's amazing. The films already entice people, but knowing that you're helping a good cause and helping pets, I think that's a soft spot for everyone as well. Everyone probably has a pet and has a deep connection with their pets. And
I did a premiere for my first and second films. We put them together and we raised $1,300.
Wow.
So that's not bad. I mean, I wish it were 13,000, but 1,300 is not bad.
And imagine how much more the next one will be.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, you raise your standard, you raise your goals. I mean, I think that's what we challenge ourselves with as entertainers in the film world, and actually in all worlds, yes, right? We have to keep aspiring. Otherwise, life loses its meaning. That's why I'm saying to myself now, I just finished my 4th movie. Like, it hasn't even been a month since it's been finished. I'm like, what do I do with myself? What do I do with myself now? I'm bored out of my mind. I need that creative challenge. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. I mean, I feel like some of these ideas have been downloaded. I think maybe somebody is writing them for me. I don't know, or the ideas are coming, and I wouldn't be the first performer or producer to say that their ideas seem to be coming from a greater source than themselves. That's a wonderfully magical way, a winsome way to look at things.
And your latest short, the 4th installment, Time Will Tell, will soon be having its premiere, as we've been discussing. What is the film about?
Oh, my goodness. Well, this is a cause near and dear to my heart because we actually took 2 real historical figures. I've been reading a lot of books on Salem, the burning times. I think as witches, we're fascinated with these times. We know that it was a horrible time in history. In England, there were 2 men in particular, real historical figures by the names of Matthew Hopkins, who was a lawyer, and his business partner, Dr. John Stern, who was an Irish physician. But for whatever reason, these 2 men were brought together, and in just 2 years, on horseback, going town to town to town, they managed to find, accuse, and execute over 300, mostly women, as witches. These men were making a career of this. Towns would levy taxes to pay them to come into the town and point the finger. And back in those days, no woman could be too smart, too beautiful, or too wealthy, because she would be accused of some kind of unearthly deal with the devil or spirits or demons. And if you wanted to get a rival out of the way, you could point the finger at her and get her accused. And back in those days, it was a farce. You didn't even get a fair trial, if you got a trial at all. and most women were thrown into the horrible, just insufficient jail facilities, and they languished and grew very sick, and even some of them died before they even saw a court. Most witches were hung, but these two men in particular, who were two real men in history, I chose to focus the film on. So then, knowing that I would show these men in their time, I'm thinking, how do we involve a modern witch in all this? And a good friend of mine, who is a regressive hypnotherapist, she said that we get a lot of messages in dreams, and that the dearly departed members of our family, our ancestors, if they're going to send a message, it will be through your dreams at night. So I thought, okay, so what if we have someone, a woman of that time, and the time is 1647, come to Tara in her dream and say, I am your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother, and you must do something to stop these two men, because they're accusing even witches, non-witches, anyone is subject to their merciless accusations and a horrible fate. Once you've been accused of witchcraft, they would take your money away if you had any. They'd take your family away. They'd take your children away. They'd take your possessions away. And it's like the opposite. It's guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah.
It was a horrible time. So you have the premise. Her ancestor visits her and says, you've got to stop these guys. If you don't, they're going to kill me, and you will never be born. So that ups the ante. So Tara, again, doesn't have a choice.
Reluctantly says,
Forced to go. Absolutely. And we did something that I'd never done, and we used modern technology. Persephone, the queen of the underworld, comes in through the computer. So, and I had not thought of that. It was someone else's idea, and I thought it was brilliant. So it's not all smoke and mirrors and crystal balls and scrying. It was, I'm trying to research something on the computer, and and there's Persephone, who's coming out of the computer and telling me, you have to do this. There's no choice. And I'm off on my adventure. And what ultimately happens is that I do stop one of the men, but she was meant to do that all along. So it's not that I change history, it's that I was part of history all along. Matthew Hopkins, the real Matthew Hopkins, dies of consumption at age 27.
mm-hmm.
Knowing this, Tara says, okay, if I'm going to kill him, if I'm going to stop him, it's going to have to look like consumption.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be a pulmonary, a lung ailment. And there is an apothecary involved, but it's basically me running around back in the mid 1600s. So everyone has to be dressed right. We had to have the right locations. And the pirates get involved because initially she gets sent back in time. She's in the wrong town. She's one town over.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't that the way life always would be? You're one subway stop away from where you need to be, and you need to be on another line. And so that is how the pirates get involved, is because she has to travel by ship. Once she realizes that she's close, she has to get to the next town over. And the quickest way is by ship. And then we learn that the pirate captain's sister is the woman we see getting accused and sentenced in the very beginning of the film. So it all kind of ties together.
Yes.
So I hope people enjoy it. It is somewhat of a history lesson in a terrible time when anyone that was different, anyone that stood out, was accused of witchcraft. I would like to think we've evolved since then, that we now embrace the unique and the different and the special. So if you've ever felt bullied or ostracized or different, as a lot of us have, maybe there's something in this film that'll resonate with you.
I think it will resonate with many, and it, as you said, a great history lesson. The Salem witch trials, we hear about it, but I don't think it's depicted so often. So it's nice that you did set this film during that time, and there's a time traveling aspect to it. We see today, and then we see back then, and it's very cool. The special effects look.
Oh, thank you. Well, I thank my VFX people. Some of them are in India, some of them are in England.
Oh, wow.
John Von Mutius kind of farmed out some of our visual effects, but I think everyone does a brilliant job. Find somebody that's good at that and work with them. Find a pay rate that they'll accept and say, please help me turn this character into a cat.
Yeah. I was going to mention that earlier when you were talking about Maggie Smith. And I didn't know if I should say it, if it would be spoiling anything, but I do love how that's now become like a little nod to her.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. And we didn't have it be a black cat because I thought, well, number one, that would be too obvious. And number two, on the farm where we were shooting was an orange cat. So we used the orange cat. So I guess in film, like I said, we've been talking about this in depth. You have to adjust to what you have. Mm-hmm. Nobody could have a cat as a pet even back then. You'd be accused of witchcraft. It's so easy and so horrible what they did to mostly the women that had no rights. Mm-hmm. You hoped to marry a nice man if you were lucky, and then you had to have children, a lot of children. Mm-hmm. They hoped for sons,
right,
and not daughters. But I know.
I'm shaking my head, yeah.
It sure is an interesting lesson when you learn back and you see how far mankind and womankind and humankind have evolved.
Yes.
You hope we've learned our lessons so they won't be repeated. Mm-hmm. And some would argue that they are being repeated.
Yeah. And you were talking about creativity and embracing those who are different.
Yes.
I was thinking about, some people today who are different are still getting persecuted. They're still being made fun of, bullied. And
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are more ways to do it than ever. I actually I'll give you a glimmer of an idea that I'm tossing around for maybe a new movie. I don't know. I had an idea of objects of the goddesses being stolen. For example, Athena's shield, Aphrodite's mirror. And then I thought about Iris, the goddess of the rainbow. Where would you take a rainbow and hide it in the modern day? Pride parade. A rainbow flag and a pride parade. That's where I would hide a rainbow.
Yeah.
So in other words, you have the modern encapsulation of these ancient artifacts. So that's kind of how my mind is thinking. I don't know.
I like it.
You can let Elizabeth know if you think that's a good idea or not.
If you agree that this is a great idea, let me know in the comments or on the Instagram page.
I try to make it different. I try to think outside the box. I try to, find creative ways to embody these ideas as a filmmaker. I guess I'm still even getting used to that label next to my name. Yeah, I mean, I never saw myself doing this.
I mean, it's been several years and you've been making your own projects. It's really admirable. You're creating your own things, you're writing your own projects, you're creating this character, you're telling stories that have resonance to people today as well as making parallels to history. They're very original works.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. It's been a lot of fun being on All Things Film with you, Elizabeth, and seeing you grow as a creative person.
Thank you.
So I wish you nothing but the best. I hope we can work together again. That would be amazing.
I'm always hoping to be on your next films. I loved it so much the first time around.
Thank you.
I hope it happens again. And as we've discussed, you've had a career in so many different areas within the show business industry. Is there something you have yet to try that remains on your bucket list?
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's good questions.
Thank you.
Oh, what would I like to do that I haven't done? I think I'd like to go to Bali. It's a beautiful area. They're a very gentle, loving people. It has been described to me as a magical place where you can find yourself, where you can find peace and serenity. I'm not the kind of person that's going to go climbing Mount Everest, although that sounds like an interesting challenge, but I'm more by the sea kind of girl. So I would like to go to more magical places. Even though I lived in England for a year, I never went to Stonehenge. And I know that there are stone circles everywhere. I've got another good answer. I want to see the Northern Lights.
Oh, yes.
And again, you've got to go somewhere cold. There's no gain without sacrifice of some kind. So I might have to go to Norway or Sweden. I've heard you can see it in Canada. So we'll see. I want to have a magical experience because magic is part of life. And if you don't believe in magic, you'll never find it. So I'll leave you with those words and just my hope for everyone. Find your place. Don't give up on your journey or your path, even if you're told, oh, it's impossible. Oh, you can't do that. Let that inspire you. Let that be the fire that ignites your passion and helps you surge forward.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Vesta. You've been so kind, and I'm so happy to have met you and worked with you. And I really enjoyed conversing with you. We've talked for a while, and I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
It just felt like such a natural conversation, and I can't believe that we're over. But I'm very honored for you to come on the show today. So thank you so much.
And the best of luck to you in all future endeavors, Elizabeth. I want to listen to more entertaining and innovative podcasts from you on all things film.
Time Will Tell is coming soon to film festivals and to a screening in St. Augustine, Florida. I will keep you updated on when that is, and I'll make sure people are aware of it. And you can go to vestavox.com to see Vesta's past work and her voiceover work, commercials, and the plethora of projects you've done. Is there a film recommendation, a line from a film, really anything you'd like to conclude our episode with today?
Oh, you mean a film that I think everyone should see?
Yeah, it could be anything. It could be a line. It could be Halloween's coming up around this time, so.
Wicked is coming up, the film with Ariana Grande. I'm looking forward to that. As many people have, I've seen the Broadway show numerous times. I want to see that translate onto the big screen.
Since it's around Halloween, I'll recommend, since I'm not a horror film person, I'm just going to say Alfred Hitchcock films. Vertigo.
There's a movie out called Tarot, which I thought was very innovative. It's a horror movie. I had to watch it. And basically, it has to do with people's readings coming true. There's a cursed tarot deck. Oh. And when you watch a movie and you think, why didn't I think of that? That's a really good idea. Wish I thought of it first.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that the last card they get, the monster or demon or entity, whatever you want to call it, comes to kill that person in the form of that tarot card. And I thought, very clever. May not be everybody's cup of tea, but for example, the first girl who gets a reading is told, you'll climb the ladder to success. And her last card is the High Priestess. Well, don't you know, in the home where she's staying, it's part of a dorm, the attic ladder keeps coming down by itself. So, of course, in a horror movie, she's got to climb the ladder and go into a dark attic and see what's up there, where the evil version of the High Priestess is waiting to kill her. So each reading goes like that. And again, may not be everybody's cup of tea, and I don't really particularly like horror, but I thought, wow, that's really clever. Mm-hmm. A great example of a horror movie that's gained international recognition and started on a very small scale is the film Smile.
Yes.
That director, and I don't know his name, and that's terrible of me to even mention I don't know, but he had a very tiny movie where people were getting killed before they die. They see these people with this grotesque smile looking at them. He made a short, and it was so good and so different and so innovative that some bigwig said, I really like that. Here's a bunch of money. Now make a feature film. True story.
Yeah.
In fact, Smile 2 has just come out.
Oh, yes. Jack Nicholson's son, right?
Perhaps. But I remember reading about the origins of this. So it is possible to be, for want of a better word, discovered, because this person was so innovative with his concept and creating this proof of concept mini movie, and they loved it. And then he was bankrolled to make his feature. So it does happen.
It does happen. Damien Chazelle, Whiplash. Mm-hmm. It can happen. Let's manifest that it happens with you too.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
These films they're a pretty big scale for independent films, but I can't imagine what you do with a bigger budget. It'd be incredible.
I'd love to try.
Thank you again so much for joining me today, Vesta. And thank you all for listening. And Vesta, magic is just a moment away.
Love it.
Bye, everyone. Special thanks to Vesta Millard, Danielle Bowman, Dr. Jillian Smith, and the Captain's Quarters podcast. This episode was recorded on October 2nd, 2024.